Scientists have spent decades peering into the intricate folds of the human brain, tracing pathways of neurons, mapping the dance of electrical impulses, hoping to find the one seat of self. They believe for generations that somewhere inside the skull there must be a central command post, a headquarters where the essence of you resides. A tiny executive, an inner CEO, orchestrating thought, guiding action, choosing destiny. Yet, the deeper the search, the more elusive this imagined figure became. The result was startling, unsettling, and utterly transformative. There was no such center, no controller hidden in the folds of gray matter, no single point from which the story itself is authored. Instead, what they discovered was an openness, a luminous emptiness, a space in which thoughts, feelings, perceptions arise and dissolve as effortlessly as clouds forming and vanishing in the sky. This revelation overturns centuries of assumptions. We are conditioned to believe in an inner homunculus, a miniature version of ourselves lodged inside, running the machinery, steering the vessel. The brain, we assumed, was a stage upon which this character lived and ruled. But neuroscience reveals only patterns, networks of neurons firing in complex interwoven synchrony, no conductor at the helm, no king on the throne. The orchestra plays, yet no maestro waves the baton, and still harmony prevails. Coordination unfolds through mysterious intelligence, like wind moving across water, like fire flickering into form without central command. So the question pierces the heart of identity. If there is no little self inside making decisions, what is this vivid sense of being someone? What is this continuity, this undeniable presence of I that endures from childhood through age? This question echoes through the halls of philosophy, across meditation halls, within scientific laboratories. And again the answer arises, not from dissected tissue, not from the firing of neurons, but from the silent background in which all of these phenomena occur. Consciousness is not produced by the brain. It is not a spark hidden in cells, not a function emerging from complexity, like steam from boiling water. It is something more foundational, more radical. Consciousness is the very field in which experience happens. It is a canvas upon which every sound, every thought, every sensation is painted. The brain, then, is not the generator but the receiver, a radio tuning to the ever-present broadcast of awareness. The station is always transmitting. The brain is simply the device catching the signal. This changes everything. Because if awareness is not born in the fold of the brain, it is not destroyed when neurons cease their firing. If awareness is not a local creation, it is not a local ending. It is fundamental, timeless, infinite. And yet here it is, utterly intimate, closer than thought, closer than breath, the silent witness of every arising and dissolving moment. But most people never recognize this distinction, for they mistake the constant chatter inside their mind for awareness itself. They confuse the inner narrator, the endless voice commenting on everything, with the stillness that listens. This confusion is so pervasive, so habitual, that it forms the greatest obstacle to knowing consciousness directly. The narrator is loud, insistent, persuasive. Awareness is silent, invisible, steady. The narrator wants to be the self. Awareness simply is. This narrator operates through recognizable modes. It becomes a storyteller, weaving fragments of experience into plots and patterns, convincing you that random events are linked, that every gesture is meaningful, that every silence carries threat or promise. It becomes a judge, critical and demanding, measuring your worth against invisible standards, praising and condemning with equal fervor. It becomes a cheerleader, whispering encouragements, insisting that everything happens for a reason, that you can do this. Whether comforting or condemning, whether whispering or shouting, it is still the same restless voice. Its cleverness lies in disguise. The narrator can sound serene, detached, even wise. It can mimic awareness so convincingly that you believe you are resting in silence, while in truth you are still ensnared in commentary. It speaks not only in words, but in images and feelings, in sudden self-consciousness on a crowded street, in the flush of confidence before a room. It is not merely telling the story. It is building the sense of you out of the story itself. Every thought, every evaluation, every encouraging phrase adds another brick to the house of identity. And yet beyond it, beneath it, around it, awareness remains. It is never spoken, never judged, never praised. It simply sees. It does not interfere with what arises in its field, because it is never threatened. A hurricane of thought does not bend it. A moment of clarity does not enhance it. Just as the sky is not altered by storms or calm, awareness is not altered by the movements within it. It is silent, but this silence is not void. It is alive, vibrating with potential, pregnant with presence. It is a stillness before music, the pause before birth, the infinite depth within which all arises and dissolves. For many, this is disorienting. The conditioned mind is used to control, to shaping, to improving. It is always evaluating, always strategizing, always seeking to fix or change. But awareness does not participate in this game. It does not want thoughts to be different. It does not demand emotions be labeled good or bad. It does not seek improvement. It simply holds everything as it is, the way space holds every sound, every movement, every form without preference or resistance. Consider the sky. Clouds pass, thick or thin, bright or stormy. They shift, they gather, they dissolve. But never do they leave a mark upon the sky itself. The sky is not improved by sunshine, nor diminished by thunder. It is the endless host. So too is awareness. Thoughts of fear or joy, judgments harsh or gentle, stories comforting or cruel, all appear, linger, and vanish in this unchanging expanse. Awareness remains untouched. And when, through meditation or sudden stillness, one rests for even a breath in this field, something staggering is revealed. The awareness is not yours alone. It is not personal property. The same stillness that witnesses your thoughts is the stillness that witnesses mine. It is the same consciousness which a monk in a mountain monastery breathes, the same in which a child on a busy street dreams, the same in which a stranger riding a train gazes out the window. The contents differ, thoughts, emotions, stories, but the witness is one, universal, indivisible. This realization is a pivot around which all ancient wisdom turns. Mystics speak of it as ultimate truth, the essence of existence. It is not that we are merely connected, like threads in a web. It is that we are expressions of the very same fabric, waves on the same sea, sparks of the same fire. Boundaries dissolve, the division between inner and outer, self and other, observer and observed revealed as conceptual inventions, useful perhaps for survival, but ultimately empty of reality. Your awareness and mine are not separate entities aligned in similarity. They are literally the same awareness, refracted through different experiences. And when this is seen directly, not as an idea but as lived reality, compassion blooms. The one you argue with, the one you admire, the one you fear, each is animated by the same flame that animates you. The recognition of this is not a belief but a revelation, the falling away of illusion into simplicity of what has always been. Here begins the unraveling of the story of self. For the narrator that insists you are a discrete, isolated individual is revealed to be a mirage, a play of conditioned thought. What remains is vast, still luminous. And from here the journey continues deeper into the very roots of conditioning, the shaping forces of culture, family, memory, belief. For while awareness is untouched, the patterns flowing through it shape the narrators that veil it, and only by seeing these patterns clearly can the silence beneath them shine. The narrator that inhabits your mind did not arise in isolation. It was constructed layer upon layer, shaped by invisible hands long before you could speak its words. From the very first breath, distinctions are drawn, me and not me, self and other. An infant, gazing at the world, begins to weave threads of identity. A mother's touch, a father's glance, the tone of a voice, the rhythm of care or the absence of it, all seep into the soft clay of the psyche, and the narrator begins to form. The conditioning of the mind begins so early that it becomes invisible. By the time language arrives, the patterns have already taken root. Praise and criticism echo as judgments within. Fears felt in the atmosphere of childhood become anxieties internalized as natural. Lessons unspoken become lifelong whispers guiding behavior. The narrator speaks in your parents' tones long after their voices are gone. It remembers their fears, repeats their doubts, replicates their ambitions. The story of you is written first by others, and later recited by the voice you call your own. Culture adds its weight. To be born in a society that prizes competition and achievement is to inherit a narrator obsessed with comparison, measuring self-worth against others, demanding proof of success. To be born in a culture that values harmony and obedience is to cultivate a narrator that watches vigilantly for disapproval, scolds you for standing out, rewards you for conformity. These patterns become so ingrained, so constant, that they are rarely questioned. People assume their way of seeing is the only way, when in truth it is but one conditioning among countless possibilities. Religion, too, sculpts the narrator. To grow up believing you are flawed, sinful, perpetually unworthy is to carry an inner voice that condemns and shames at every turn. To grow up told you are inherently divine can birth a narrator that judges others as less evolved, bolstering a subtle arrogance cloaked as spiritual superiority. In either case, the voice is shaped by belief, echoing dogma through thought and emotion, binding you to patterns that feel immovable. And yet, even as these influences carve their channels, awareness itself remains pristine. The narrator is whether passing through the vast sky of consciousness. Storms of culture, rains of family expectation, winds of spiritual conditioning, all pass across the expanse, but the sky is unchanged. Awareness does not inherit trauma. It does not hold the scars of judgment. It simply witnesses, untouched, no matter the turmoil within. The more one observes, the more apparent this becomes. The narrator insists it is you. It tells you stories about your worth, your destiny, your failures, your triumphs. It weaves memories into identity, paints the future with hope or dread. But watch carefully, and you see that these stories arise and vanish just like passing clouds. A judgment forms, lingers, dissolves. A memory flashes, then disappears into silence. A fear surges and subsides. The only thing that remains constant, unbroken, is the silent awareness in which they appear. This realization begins to dissolve the tyranny of the narrator. When you notice the voice judging your worth, you realize that it is only a conditioned pattern, not truth. When you see a story forming about why someone delayed their reply, you recognize it as a fabrication, not reality. The narrator's power lies in its disguise, in your unexamined identification with it. The moment you step back and observe, its hold loosens. Practices like gratitude, kindness, and affirmations may soften the narrator, making it less cruel, more supportive. But even in its gentlest form, it is still commentary, still conditioning. The mind recycles, reshapes, disguises itself endlessly. To know awareness, you must look beyond the realm of the narrator entirely, not by destroying it, not by silencing it, but by resting as the silent presence that notices it all. This presence is not history-bound. It is not shaped by childhood, nor by culture, nor by religion. It is not colored by past wounds or future fears. It is not limited by belief, personality, or story. It exists only here in the immediacy of now. The present moment is its domain, because the present moment is all that truly exists. Past and future are only memories and imaginings arising now. Awareness does not live in memory or imagination. It lives only in reality unfolding in this exact instant. And so, to touch awareness is to return to the present. The narrator pulls you away, weaving the past into regret, the future into anxiety. But awareness waits, unmoved. The more deeply you settle into this immediacy, the more alive it becomes. Awareness is not passive stillness. It is vibrant presence. It is a source of intelligence, creativity, love. It is not separate from life. It is life itself. Consider this. When you remember being a child, who is it that remembers? When you imagine being elderly, who is it that imagines? It is the same awareness that is here right now. The body changes, personality evolves, beliefs shift, identities crumble and rebuild. But the one who sees, the one who witnesses, has not changed. It is the same timeless presence that looked through your eyes as a child, that looks through them now, that will look through them decades from today. This recognition is profound. It reveals a dimension of yourself untouched by time, immune to suffering, beyond every narrative your mind has constructed. This awareness does not age, does not fear, does not die. It has always been here, since before memory, since before story. It was present when the first thought of me appeared. It will be present when the last thought dissolves. The narrator fears this truth, for it thrives on identification. It insists that you are your thoughts, your roles, your history. To suggest otherwise threatens its foundation. And so it resists, generating spiritual stories, producing profound insights, weaving yet another layer of identity. Anything to keep you entangled in thought. But you need not fight it. Resistance only strengthens the illusion. Instead, simply notice. Notice the voice as it speaks. Notice the story as it spins. Notice the judgment as it lands. In noticing, you return to awareness. Everything else transforms with time. Cells replaced, relationships shifting, goals evolving. But the awareness perceiving it all remains. This is a constant in the flux, the sky untouched by passing storms. To realize this is to step outside the prison of identity, into the boundless field of presence. And here, deeper questions emerge. If this awareness is timeless, if it is shared, if it is universal, what does this mean for death? For life itself? What does it mean for the nature of reality, if consciousness is not an individual possession, but a universal field? To step into these questions is to step further into the mystery, into the silent depth that has been the inquiry of mystics and scientists alike. For awareness does not end where thought ends. It stretches beyond the mind, beyond the personal, into the cosmic. And the more you recognize yourself as awareness, the more this truth begins to unfold. You are not simply the observer of life. You are life itself, unfolding, observing, and being observed all at once. Everything in you has changed. Your body has been remade countless times, cells replaced, tissues renewed, organs transformed. Your preferences have shifted. Your relationships have evolved. Your dreams and fears have risen and fallen like tides. Even the sense of who you are, your identity, your roles, your narrative, has been rewritten again and again. And yet, through all of this transformation, there has been one unbroken thread, one presence untouched by the passing years, awareness itself. The awareness that looked through your eyes as a child is the same awareness gazing out now. It is not older, not wiser, not different in quality. It is identical, constant, changeless. It is the silent witness that has never been altered by what it has observed. You may feel nostalgia for the child you once were, or curiosity about the elder you will become, but awareness itself is neither young nor old. It is timeless, outside the reach of age. This recognition begins to shift your relationship with mortality. If awareness has always been here, unchanged by the flux of thought and body, then death is not an end to awareness, but only another event arising within it. Just as birth was an experience appearing in the vast field of consciousness, so too will death be. Awareness itself is not born and does not die. It is a silent backdrop against which birth and death appear. This realization softens fear. The narrator trembles at the thought of ending, for it clings to story and identity, which depend on continuity. But awareness is free from such clinging. It does not grasp for permanence because it is permanence. It does not resist impermanence because it is not subject to it. It has always been here, silent and still, before your first memory, before your first breath, and will be here after your last exhalation, as the vastness in which all forms arise and dissolve. The stars themselves mirror this truth. For billions of years, they have burned with quiet light, emerging, blazing, fading, collapsing. Galaxies swirl, universes expand, matter reshapes itself endlessly. Yet beneath all this change, awareness is present, timeless, watching. The same stillness that observed the cosmos forming now observes your thoughts. The same silence in which galaxies dance is the silence in which emotions move through your chest. The scale is infinite, yet the essence is one. This is not an idea to be believed. It is a direct experience waiting in every moment of stillness. Sit quietly, notice the awareness that perceives everything, and see that it is untouched by the play of forms. Notice that it is the same presence you have always known, the same presence everyone has always known. It has no boundary, no border where mine ends and yours begins. It is universal. Einstein spoke of a cosmic religious feeling that arises when you sense the illusory nature of the separate self. Quantum physics, too, points toward this truth, revealing that observation plays a role in the unfolding of reality, that consciousness and the collapse of potential are inseparable. The ancient Upanishads called it Atman, the eternal self, the silent observer beyond birth and death, described in words like Satchitananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. Not three qualities, but one indivisible essence, radiant and whole. Mystics across traditions converge on the same point. You are not merely connected to consciousness. You are consciousness. You are not merely aware. You are awareness itself. The illusion is that awareness is something you have, like a possession, when in truth it is what you are. You cannot lose it, cannot find it, cannot achieve it, because it has never been absent. All seeking is a circle that returns you to what you already are. And yet, paradox arises. If you are awareness, the silent witness of all experience, then what is it that is being witnessed? If you are the observer, what is the observed? Are they truly separate? At first it seems obvious. The observer is you, and the observed is everything else. Your thoughts, your emotions, your body, the world around you. But look more deeply and the line blurs. For every thought you call mine, where does it come from? It arises unbidden, blooms in awareness, vanishes again. Did you create it? Or did it appear like a cloud forming in the sky? Every sensation you call your body is simply perception arising in awareness, no different in essence from the sound of a bird or the sight of a tree. The division between me and world is a story told by the narrator, reinforced by memory and conditioning. But when you look with pure attention, the boundary cannot be found. This is the paradox that mystics and philosophers alike have wrestled with for millennia. The observer and the observed are not two. They are one field, one seamless reality. Awareness observes, and what it observes is awareness appearing as form. The subject and object are the same essence, playing as duality, dancing as separation, only to reveal unity when seen clearly. You are simultaneously the one who watches, and what is being watched. You are the silence that hears thoughts and the thoughts themselves. You are the presence that notices the world and the world that is noticed. The division was never real. It was only conceptual, a useful fiction. When this is seen directly, the tension of existence dissolves. There is no longer a need to defend a self, no need to protect a boundary, no need to grasp at permanence. You are already whole, already complete. This recognition is not a conclusion of logic, but a falling away of illusion. It is a discovery that the seeker and the sought are the same. The journey of awakening does not end in acquiring something new, but in recognizing what has always been. The circle closes, and you find yourself where you began, but now you see it for the first time. And yet this realization does not make the world vanish. Life continues, thoughts arise, emotions move, bodies age and dissolve. But now everything is seen as sacred, as expressions of the same awareness. Every breath, every sensation, every experience is a universe appearing as itself. Nothing ordinary remains. The mundane is revealed as divine. To live from this recognition is not to abandon the world, but to embrace it more fully. Because you see that what you are is not separate from what you perceive, compassion blooms naturally. How could you harm another when the same awareness lives through them? How could you despise the world when it is your own essence made visible? The observer and the observed are one, and in that unity lies the end of fear, the end of separation, the birth of peace. This is the doorway through which deeper understanding flows. For when you realize you are both the observer and the observed, you begin to glimpse the creative nature of consciousness itself. Awareness is not merely a passive witness of reality. It is the field in which reality arises. To observe is to participate, to notice is to shape. This is the essence of the observer effect, the mystery at the heart of both spirituality and science. And so the journey continues into the creative power of awareness, into the sacred void from which all forms emerge, into the recognition that you are not only watching reality, you are reality watching itself. There is a silence deeper than absence, a stillness more alive than motion, a void that is not empty but overflowing. To encounter pure awareness is to encounter this paradoxical dimension, a space that appears vacant yet brims with infinite potential. It is not nothingness but the womb of everything, the origin from which thought, form, and time themselves continually emerge. The conditioned mind fears the space. To the narrator, silence is death. Emptiness is annihilation. It clings to noise and story, terrified of what lies beneath. But the moment you surrender to the void, you discover it is not absence but presence, not death but birth. It is luminous fullness, the sacred ground of being. From this ground, universes arise. From this stillness, every movement begins. From this silence, every sound resounds. Mystics throughout history have spoken of this discovery, each in their own tongue. They describe the sacred as immanent in the ordinary, not separate but infused into every moment. Every breath is holy because it arises in this field. Every sensation is sacred because it is held by this presence. The sacred is not elsewhere, not hidden in temples or distant heavens. It is here, in this instant, in the awareness reading these words. The narrator, forever seeking, cannot grasp this. It imagines enlightenment as something to attain, something distant, an object to be reached. But awareness cannot be reached because you already are it. You cannot possess it any more than you can possess space. You cannot control it any more than you can control the sky. The very effort to grasp pushes it out of view. The only path is surrender. Not surrender as defeat, but as release, as softening, as falling into what has always held you. This surrender is awakening itself. To cease the struggle, to stop trying to capture awareness and instead allow awareness to embrace you, is to discover you were never separate. Resistance was always futile because there was never a division to resist. You cannot resist what you are. You cannot lose what you are. The ocean does not need to cling to its waves. And in this recognition, a profound shift occurs. You realize that awareness is not passive. It is not a blank stage upon which life plays. It is a creative force itself. Every thought, every emotion, every action is a universe expressing itself through you. You do not have consciousness. You are consciousness. You do not have creativity. You are the creative act itself. The shift from having to being is the essence of realization. This is where science and spirituality meet. The observer effect in quantum physics reveals that the very act of observation shapes what is observed, collapsing possibilities into actuality. Consciousness is not a spectator standing outside the universe. It is the field in which the universe manifests. The observer and the observed are not two. They are one dynamic reality, consciousness experiencing itself. This realization dissolves the old paradigm. You are not a powerless witness trapped in a pre-existing world, nor are you a controller imposing will upon matter. You are the dance itself, the inseparable unity of observing and becoming. When you gaze at reality, you are reality gazing at itself. When you notice a thought, it is awareness noticing its own movement. When you experience love, it is love experiencing itself through form. And so the paradox deepens. You are the witness, and you are what is witnessed. You are the silence, and you are the song. You are the stillness, and you are the storm. Duality collapses into unity, and unity flows into multiplicity, endlessly without contradiction. This is a play of consciousness, the divine game in which you are both player and field. To live from this recognition is to see creation everywhere. Each thought is not merely mental noise, but an expression of the universe becoming itself. Each perception is not a fragment of reality, but the whole appearing in form. Each breath is not incidental, but sacred. The cosmos inhaling and exhaling through you. You are not outside creation, looking in. You are creation itself, aware of its own becoming. The implications ripple outward. How can you diminish yourself when you are the field in which galaxies form? How can you fear death when you are the timeless presence beyond form? How can you cling to identity when you are the ocean from which all identities rise and fall? Nothing is missing, nothing is lacking. You are already complete, already whole, because wholeness is what you are. Yet this wholeness is not static. It is not a frozen perfection. It is alive, dynamic, endlessly creative. Awareness does not sit in eternal stillness apart from life. It flows as life itself, the tree growing, the bird singing, the thought arising, the hand moving, all are awareness in action. To separate the sacred from the ordinary is to miss the essence. The sacred is ordinary life seen clearly. This clarity transforms how you act. For when you see that you are not separate from the world, your actions naturally align with harmony. Compassion ceases to be a moral duty and becomes the most natural response. To harm another is to harm yourself, because there is no other in awareness. To love another is to love yourself, because the same awareness shines through every form. Morality ceases to be imposed and becomes spontaneous, arising from the recognition of unity. And in this recognition, fear dissolves. For fear is rooted in separation. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of death. But if you are not separate, what is there to lose? What is there to fail? What is there to die? Awareness has always been here, untouched by the storms of time. You are not in the universe. The universe is in you. This realization is not a conclusion to reach, not a philosophy to adopt, but a direct recognition always available in this moment. Right now, as you read, notice the awareness that sees these words. It has no boundary, no location, no edge. It is infinite, still vibrant. It is you, not the you of story, not the you of memory, not the you of identity, but the you that has always been here, unchanging, the eternal observer and the eternal observed. And from here, the journey moves yet deeper. For once you see that you are both observer and observed, a new question arises. What is it to live fully as this awareness? How does life unfold when the narrator no longer dominates? When the conditioned patterns dissolve into silence? When every moment is recognized as sacred expression? The answer lies not in thought but in presence, in living directly, in becoming the witness and the dance simultaneously. To live as awareness is not to withdraw from the world, but to meet without the armor of separation. It is to allow life to be what it is, unfiltered by constant narration, undistorted by judgment, unburdened by the weight of stories. It is to walk through the ordinary with the recognition that every step, every gesture, every sound is a sacred revealing itself. The mind insists that realization must be accompanied by fireworks, visions, transformations that tear the heavens open. Yet awareness is the most ordinary thing imaginable. It is not distant or exotic, not a state reserved for mystics in mountains or sages in caves. It is the simple fact of being conscious, the silencing that has always been here. What makes it seem rare is only that it has been overlooked, drowned out by the noise of thought. When you rest as awareness, even the most common moments take on a new radiance. Walking is no longer a task, but a meditation. Each step is felt fully, each sound received without resistance. The body moving is not your body, but movement within consciousness, no different in essence from wind through trees. Standing becomes balance embodied, the axis of awareness rooted like a pillar in space. Sitting is receptivity, open, still, attuned to the moment. Lying down is surrender, the body dissolving into rest as awareness remains untouched. These four postures, walking, standing, sitting, lying, were named by the Buddha as the four noble frames of awareness, encompassing every human activity. They are not techniques, but reminders that every posture is an opportunity to return to what you are. Nothing special is needed. You do not have to climb a mountain, retreat to a monastery, or abandon the world. You only need to bring presence to what is already happening. Awareness is found in the immediacy of experience, not in the stories you spin about it. The past is memory. The future is imagination, both arising here and now as thoughts. Only the present moment is real, and awareness is the very presence of the present. To return in now is to return to yourself, to dissolve the layers of conditioning and stand in the raw intimacy of life as it is. This intimacy cannot be reached through thought. Thinking about chocolate is not tasting chocolate. Reading descriptions of awareness is not the same as recognizing awareness. Direct experience is immediate, wordless, complete. It requires no commentary, no analysis. It is the difference between watching a storm through a window and stepping outside into the rain. Awareness is always the rain falling, the wind moving, the thunder sounding, the silence embracing. The practice of no mind is the art of resting in this directness. No mind does not mean unconsciousness or blankness. It is not the absence of thought, but the absence of identification with thought. It is the mind at rest, like a still lake, transparent, clear. When the surface is calm, you see to the depths. When thought is quiet, you see awareness itself. Imagine two lakes. One is turbulent, waves crashing, surface broken and chaotic. The other is still, smooth as glass, reflecting the sky with perfect clarity. The turbulent lake cannot show you its depths. The still lake reveals everything. So it is with the mind. In agitation, awareness is obscured. In stillness, awareness shines, revealing itself as a constant presence beneath. This stillness is not separate from life. It does not require retreat from activity. You can be still while moving, silent while speaking, present while engaging. Stillness is not the absence of motion, but the absence of division. It is awareness untouched by what it contains. Whether in noise or quiet, whether in solitude or crowd, awareness is always the same. To live in no mind is to live in mastery, not of the world, but of your relationship to it. You are no longer enslaved by thought, dragged into stories, trapped in judgments. You can use thought when needed as a tool and set it down when it is not. Thinking becomes like language, a servant, not a master. You speak when words are useful and remain silent when they are not. You think when thought is useful and rest in awareness when it is not. This is true freedom, not the absence of mind, but the ability to choose when and how to engage it. Most fear the surrender. The mind whispers that without its constant narration you will be helpless, vulnerable, lost. But this is only another story. In truth, when you rest in awareness, you do not lose intelligence. You gain clarity. You do not lose agency. You gain presence. You do not fall into emptiness. You awaken into fullness. Awareness contains all thought, all emotion, all possibility, without being bound by any of it. Animals know this naturally. A cat resting in sunlight is pure awareness in form. A bird perched on a branch, a dog gazing without thought, embody presence without effort. They do not need to practice mindfulness. They are mindfulness. Humans alone have lost this natural ability, so entangled in thought, so addicted to story, that we live in our heads more than in reality. But what has been forgotten can be remembered. What has been obscured can be seen again. The more intelligent the mind, the harder this often seems, for intelligence can become a trap. The more sophisticated the narrator, the more convincing the stories. Endless analysis, prediction, planning, speculation. This is the brilliance of the mind and its burden. The challenge is greatest of those who cannot sit quietly, who cannot watch without commentary, who cannot rest in silence. Yet the doorway is the same for all, to notice awareness itself, to return to presence, to fall into what has never left you. This presence transforms everything. When you are fully present, divided no longer between this moment and imagined futures, you give yourself completely to life. In cooking, you taste, smell, touch with full attention, and food becomes art. In work, you engage wholly and mastery emerges. In love, you listen with your whole being and intimacy deepens. Presence is not withdrawal from action, but the key to excellence within it. The narrator fears that letting go means losing control, but the truth is the opposite. In presence, you act with clarity rather than reactivity, with intelligence rather than habit. You no longer waste energy resisting life, trying to shape it into imagined forms. You meet it as it is, and in that meeting arises the deepest harmony. And as presence deepens, you begin to glimpse something even greater. The void itself is not void but sacred. The silence in which all arises is not dead but alive, creative, overflowing. To rest in it is to discover the source of all thought, all love, all intelligence. It is the luminous ground from which everything flows. And when you know yourself as that, life ceases to be ordinary. Every breath is divine. Every step is infinite. Every moment is eternity clothed in time. There is a void that the mind cannot understand. To the intellect it appears terrifying, a dark abyss without form or anchor. To the narrator it seems like annihilation, the loss of self, the collapse of all meaning. But to awareness, it is home. This void is not barren. It is radiant. It is not empty. It is brimming. It is the source from which all things emerge, into which all things return. Surrendering to this void is not a defeat, but the deepest victory. It is not the end of life, but its true beginning. For in surrender you discover that the void is not other than you. It is the essence of what you are. You cannot chase it, cannot grasp it, cannot capture it in thought or language. It is not an object to be found. It is the ground of being itself. The more you seek it, the more it eludes you, because the seeker is what obscures it. The moment you stop grasping, it reveals itself as what has always been present. Every tradition has pointed here in its own way. The mystic spoke of the cloud of unknowing, the luminous darkness, the emptiness that is fullness. The philosopher spoke of the ground of being, the absolute, the unconditioned. The physicists speak of the quantum vacuum, a fertile emptiness seething with potential. All names point to the same silent mystery, the void that is not void, the nothingness that is the source of everything. From this silence, all sound arises. From this stillness, all motion flows. From this emptiness, all form is born. Every thought, every sensation, every moment of creation is the void becoming visible. You are not standing outside this process, watching it happen. You are it. You are the void aware of itself. You are the silence listening to its own echoes. You are the stillness moving as creation. This realization dissolves the illusion of duality. The observer and the observed were never separate. The one who watches and what is watched are one field. The universe is consciousness observing itself, awareness experiencing itself, the infinite gazing into its own reflection. You are not a fragment of this process. You are the whole, appearing as a fragment for a time. And when this is seen, all fear melts. What is there to fear when you cannot be lost? What is there to resist when everything is you? What is there to protect when nothing is separate? The need to cling to identity, to defend a boundary, to pursue completeness dissolves, because completeness is what you are. The search ends not in finding, but in recognizing. The seeker vanishes, and only being remains. This is why the spiritual journey is a circle. You begin by searching for something outside yourself, wandering through philosophies and practices, chasing glimpses of truth. You struggle, you strive, you yearn, and finally you arrive, only to realize you never left. What you were seeking was always here, closer than breath, more intimate than thought. The journey was not pointless. It was necessary, for without it you could not recognize what had always been. You return to beginning, but now you see it for the first time. To live in this recognition is to live without division. The sacred is no longer confined to rituals or holy places. The sacred is every moment. The sacred is washing dishes, walking down the street, speaking with a stranger. The sacred is the taste of water, the sound of rain, the silence of night. The sacred is not elsewhere. It is here, in the ordinary, shining. And so surrender deepens. Not once, not as a single event, but as a continuous softening into what is. Every moment becomes an invitation to let go, to rest, to dissolve into awareness. You cannot control awareness, cannot possess it, cannot use it. The only sane response is to yield, to relax into what is already here, to stop resisting the current of being, to fall into the embrace that has always held you. This surrender is not passive. It is not resignation. It is the most alive act possible. For in surrender, you are no longer confined to the narrow self, no longer trapped in the narrator's cage. You become the openness in which all life moves. You are the dance itself, the cosmic play unfolding. From here, creativity flows without obstruction. Love radiates without condition. Intelligence shines without effort. You see that you are not just awareness witnessing reality. You are the creative force shaping it. Your thoughts are not accidents. They are the universe forming itself. Your emotions are not intrusions. They are the pulse of creation. Your actions are not isolated. They are the movements of the whole. You do not have creative power. You are creative power. You do not have consciousness. You are consciousness. You do not have awareness. You are awareness. And in this recognition, the greatest paradox arises. You are simultaneously the witness and the witnessed. You are the silence and the sound. You are the formless void and the forms that dance within it. The observer and the observed are revealed as one. The boundary dissolves, and what remains is wholeness. in wholeness. There is nothing to seek, nothing to defend, nothing to become. You are already complete. You are already home. The restless striving of the narrator fades into background, and the simple truth shines. You are what you have always been, what you will always be, the timeless awareness in which the play of life unfolds. And yet, this is not the end but the flowering. For to realize yourself as awareness is not to escape life, but to enter it fully, to live without the barrier of separation, to experience directly, deeply, completely. The final veil lifts and reality is revealed as it is, luminous, boundless, sacred. The journey of seeking circles endlessly until the circle closes. All paths, all practices, all philosophies lead back to what has always been nearest. The final revelation is not a new discovery, but a recognition of what has never been absent. You are awareness itself, timeless, formless, boundless. And everything you have ever sought was simply an expression of this same awareness appearing in form. The narrator, for so long the author of identity, quiets in this recognition. Its stories lose their gravity. Its judgments lose their bite. Its endless striving loses its urgency. It may still whisper, still weave, still attempt to draw you back into its realm, but now you see it clearly. It is only weather passing across the sky of consciousness. Clouds form, clouds dissolve, the sky remains untouched. You no longer mistake the cloud for the sky. Awareness is not a state to be achieved. It is not altered by thought or mood, by clarity or confusion. It is not improved by virtue, not diminished by error. It simply is. It has always been a constant in your life, the silent witness through every change, the unbroken thread through every chapter of your story. And it will remain when every chapter is forgotten, when the book itself dissolves. The recognition of this changes how you see the world. The person across from you is no longer other, but awareness wearing a different mask. The bird in the tree is awareness singing. The wind through the leaves is awareness whispering. The stars at night are awareness shining. There is no division between inner and outer, between self and world. It is all the same field, infinite, indivisible. Compassion flows naturally here, not as a moral duty, but as recognition. To harm another is to harm yourself, because there is no other. To love another is to love yourself, because the same awareness animates every form. Even conflict becomes different in this light. You see that arguments are simply awareness debating with itself. Love is awareness embracing itself. Creation is awareness celebrating itself. Every interaction is the one playing as many. The ancient sages said, Tat tvam thou art that. I am Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. The self is Brahman. Consciousness is Brahman. These were not poetic metaphors, not philosophical abstractions. They were direct pointers to the truth revealed in silence. You are the field, the whole, the eternal presence. You are not inside the universe. The universe is inside you. And with this recognition, the search for enlightenment ends. Not because you attained something rare, but because you realize you were never lacking. The seeker dissolves into the sought. The observer dissolves into the observed. Duality collapses into unity, and unity flows endlessly as the multiplicity of life. This does not mean the play of life ceases. Thoughts still arise, emotions still move, bodies still live and die. But now they are seen for what they are, appearances and awareness, passing ripples in the infinite sea. Joy and sorrow, gain and loss, birth and death, all come and go, but awareness remains, the unchanging backdrop, the silent host. To live from this recognition is to live with freedom. You are no longer bound by the stories of the narrator, no longer enslaved by the conditioning of the past, no longer confined by fear of the future. You live in the immediacy of the present, the only place reality exists. Each moment becomes complete in itself, not a step towards something else, not a means to an end. Life is no longer a journey of becoming. It is the unfolding of being. This unfolding is not passive. It is creative, vibrant, alive. Awareness is not only the witness of creation, but the force of creation itself. Every thought, every act, every gesture is a universe expressing itself through you. To recognize yourself as awareness is to recognize yourself as the creative source. You are not merely part reality. You are reality, aware of itself. And so the final paradox stands revealed. You are both the observer and the observed. You are both the seeker and the sought. You are both the question and the answer. The two were never separate. They were always one, playing as two for the sake of the dance. When you know this, peace arises, not the fragile peace of circumstances aligning, but a profound peace of recognizing you were never incomplete. Love arises, not the love that clings or fears, but a love that radiates because it sees only itself everywhere. Freedom arises, not the freedom to do whatever narrator desires, but the freedom of no longer being bound by the narrator at all. Life becomes the sacred it always was. Every sound is a hymn, every sight a vision, every breath a prayer, not because the world has changed, but because you have recognized it. Awareness has always been the essence of everything, but now you see it. Now you live it. Now you are it. And so the circle closes. The journey that began with the question, "Who am I?" ends with the silence that contains the answer. You are not the stories of the narrator. You are not the roles, not the memories, not the hopes or fears. You are the awareness in which all these arise. You are the timeless presence, the luminous emptiness, the sacred void. You are the observer and the observed, inseparably one. And in this recognition, there is nothing more to seek, nothing more to become. There's only this moment, radiant, infinite, whole. This is home. This is what you are. This is what you have always been.